Let's find out what John Borack thinks. He is author of the Beatles 100 pivotal moments in Beatles history. John, are you going to have to reissue your book? And is this the 101st pivotal moment in Beatles history?
It very well could be. How are you, Peter?
I'm very well, thanks. I hope you're well as well. What do you make of the music? Is today an exciting day for you, or are you thinking, actually, let it be?
No, I think it's an exciting day for all Beatles fans. Any new music at this point from the Fab Four is something to celebrate. I certainly don't agree with the person who said it's the worst Beatles song ever. They must not have ever heard Mr. Moonlight, because that would be my vote for the worst ever.
I remember, but, I think it was Mr. Moonlight was playing in a van one time. I was going with a cameraman to film a story, and the DJ said afterward and said, someone says the Beatles never created a bad song. Clearly they hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, well, to be fair, that was a cover. That wasn't one that Lennon, McCartney, or Harrison wrote. But back to the new song, I think it's, it's not the Beatles' best song, but it's just so good to hear them all four together, even though they weren't in the same room recording it, obviously. Just hearing John harmonize with Paul, and hearing Ringo on the drums and George on the acoustic guitar, then Paul's even doing a slide guitar solo as kind of a tribute to George, since George wasn't here to do it himself. It's just, it gives me chills and goosebumps.
Well, you say it gives you chills and goosebumps. I mean, presumably that's because of the newness and the creativity, but isn't it also a little bit weird to have, let's call a spade here, two dead people involved in a new record?
A little bit, but it's, it's certainly been done before. There was a duet of the song Unforgettable with Nat King Cole and his daughter Natalie singing it, and Nat had been gone for 30 years, so this is nothing new. It's what the new technology is, and it's not exactly AI, to be honest. It's audio software that Peter Jackson kind of helped come up with while he was doing the audio for the Beatles' recent film, Get Back. He was able to separate John's voice.
Is that the Lord of the Rings guy, or am I mixing? Are the two separate people?
It is. Okay. It is the very same gentleman. Yes. So he came up with some audio software with the help of some other folks, and he could separate John Lennon's voice from the piano, which is why this wasn't done 30 or so years ago when the Beatles did a few other songs with John Lennon based on some demos that he had done, Free as a Bird and Real Love. But now they were able to separate the vocal from the guitar, clean it up, using that audio software, but it is most certainly not AI generated.
I know you're in the LA area, and of course it's the morning there with you, but what has been the reaction kind of overnight to this from the many, I'm sure many Beatles fans you're in contact with throughout the world?
Well, it's basically the excitement of it all. A lot of us weren't around when the Beatles first came on the scene, so we didn't have that excitement of hearing a new Beatles record during the 60s. So this is kind of a new feeling for us, and everybody's very excited from what I gather on social media. I've read a lot about it this morning, and there's a few people who don't like the song or wish it could have been done differently. The demo version actually had a bridge in it that was excised from this released version. I don't personally think it's that great of a bridge. Other people disagree, but you're going to get 10 people in a room, 5 will think one way, 5 will think another way.
What sort of legacy do the Beatles have today? And actually, this is kind of building on the legacy, because this is a new song, and with your 100 pivotal moments, as you say, there could be more. And could this happen again? Perhaps is there more stock to be sort of taken out of the cupboard and perhaps reversion using AI or the latest musical technology of the geniuses like Peter Jackson and others? What do you think is next for them, I suppose, as well as their legacy?
Well, this has been promoted as the last Beatles song. That's how.
Do you think it will be, though? I mean, it's like Elton John and his farewell tours. I mean, there've been quite a few of those.
Right. I was going to say Elton John and the Who have been doing their final tours for about 15 years now. What I'm looking forward to, and to answer your question, I don't know if there will be more. There most certainly could be. They could even clean up the 2 songs they used John Lennon's vocals and instruments on back in the 90s, that I mentioned earlier, Free as a Bird and Real Love. But I think what they're going to concentrate on using this technology and other new audio technology is cleaning up some of the older recordings that were done in 4-track, like the Rubber Soul album and the albums that came before that. So that's what I think is next. As far as the Beatles' legacy, it's the greatest band ever. It's the greatest music ever, and I don't think that will ever change. I play in a Beatles cover band. We're called Let It Be, and I see on a weekly basis people from ages 3 to 80 out there at our shows. We had a little 3-year-old girl request the song "Hello Goodbye" last week. How does a 3-year-old girl know that? But she does, because it's the Beatles. They're omnipresent. They're everywhere. Their music will never die.
And you say the music will never die. I mean, what do you think are the? It's probably impossible to choose a favourite tune, but where does Now and Then kind of rank in the genius of the Beatles and the kind of really, really good ones versus the ones that aren't quite so good?
Well, since it's so new, it's really hard to rank.
It's got to grow on you,
personally.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's still so brand new. Like I mentioned earlier, it's certainly not their best song, but it's far from their worst song, I believe. It's probably somewhere past the middle. I don't know, towards the lower end of the spectrum, but certainly not bad. I greatly enjoy it. I've been listening to it quite a bit. And,
and I'm sure you'll listen
I love
to it.
hearing everyone together.
I'm sure you'll listen to it many, many more times as well. Maybe you'll even perform it with your band. Thank you very much indeed, John Borack, there, author of The Beatles 100.